morning everyone. I think this is vlog 14 now. So, where am I? I'm in Fier, which is a town in Albania, which I mentioned in the last vlog update. And today I've got an 80-kilometre cycle ride to go to Durrës. Now some of that road is going to be on a highway, a dual carriageway. It's debatable whether slow moving vehicles are allowed on there, but as several people have explained to me, this is Albania. So apparently it'll be okay on a bike, so no worries. But I don't expect the cycling to be all that pleasant because it's just going to be fast moving traffic. So it's probably just a case of get my head down and get the miles in, really. Is there anything else to say? I'm going to do another short video just straight after this one before I set off, which is about my waterproof gear that I used yesterday. So it rained all day yesterday and it's rained through the night as well. So the waterproof gear was absolutely fine yesterday. I was kept nice and warm, majority dry, because waterproof gear, it never keeps you entirely dry because obviously you sweat inside, especially when you're cycling up hills and things like that. But yeah, it kept me brilliant yesterday. So I was like lovely and warm. But the day after, that's where you have a problem. What do you do with your wet gear then? So that's what this second section of video is going to be about. Stay tuned. Welcome to the bathroom of my cheap Albanian hotel, and I am using it to dry my wet weather gear. So my wet weather gear is kind of divided into two parts. We have this, which is an entirely waterproof coat, and that's a Gore-Tex coat, which means that it's breathable. Again, things are never entirely 100% breathable because if you're cycling uphill and you're putting a lot of exertion in, it's just, you know, sweat does build up on the inside. But yes, this is an awesome coat. If you can afford one, buy one. That is my recommendation. So that is now dry. So if I wanted to, I could pack that away, no problem. These are my waterproof trousers. Again, they did the job. They're waterproof, not incredibly breathable, but not bad. Again, they're dry, so I can pack those away, no worries. Onto the sealskin socks then. Now the purpose of these socks are actually made out of a kind of wool. So the purpose of the socks is to keep your feet warm. So they do absorb water, but that means the next day you have two choices. You can put some wet socks in with your clothes somewhere, or you can wear the wet socks. Now I think I'm going to choose to wear the wet socks because my feet will just warm up again quite quickly. The same with the sealskin's hat. Again, it keeps my head nice and warm when I'm wearing it. It has like an insulating property, so even though it gets damp and wet, and it is still damp and wet now, it keeps your head warm. Do I want to put that on my head now? Not really, to be honest, but maybe I will have to. We'll see. And in the shower area, don't know if you can see because of the light, these are my cycling shoes. Obviously, these are not waterproof, and they are still damp. So I think, in hindsight, they should have a bit of a clean as well, couldn't they? So I think I need to wear the socks, the waterproof socks, with these shoes today because they're both damp anyway, and hopefully they'll dry out a little bit in the sun today. Again, so waterproof gear is fine if you're like a day cyclist and you want to do a day trip, but on bicycle touring, what do you do with your wet stuff after? So it's always a bit of a toss-up as to what you do. So I'm going to wear half of it and store half of it away. So I hope that answers any questions you may have or had about what wet weather gear for bicycle touring. Thank you very much, and it's time to pack my gear away and hit the road. I'll try and film some scenes of the highway on the way to Durrës. Cheers for now. So this is me cycling out of Fier, coming down towards the dual carriageway. If you look on the left hand side there, you'll see a guy running with a donkey and a cart. The donkey and cart is still a popular means of transport for goods in the rural areas, and a lot of Albania is rural. Of course there's cars on the road, there's plenty of cars, and in fact the Mercedes is one of the most popular cars in Albania. There's a long story attached to that as to why that is. I'm sure you can do some Google research of your own. After the collapse of communism, Albania basically started from nothing. I mean, the people had nothing. You hear stories of how when people found a discarded Coke can, they would put it on the mantelpiece for something to look at. I'm not sure if things were ever that extreme. I've visited a lot of countries, and in some countries with communist regimes in the past, people hark back to the good old days and how it was better under communism. Not one person I've met in Albania says this. I think that proves just how bad it was, really.
Anyway, back to the road. This is me cycling along the road. I thought cycling would be a bit of an issue, but of course it wasn't. And then this guy is coming up the dual carriageway the wrong way. Now that's not entirely his fault. I mean, there's no fault here. The EU have pumped in a lot of money to do a road system in Albania, but what they've not done is put any slip roads or service roads. So people that live either side of the road need to cycle one way or the other to get from A to B. That's just the way it is. So this guy here, I'm just about to overtake him now. You see, this is quite common with the plastic crates attached to the back of the bike. And as we cycle up here, you can see the traffic is just slowly building, and you'll see another donkey and cart ahead of us there. So although it's a dual carriageway, I mean, this guy has got no other way to get to where he's got to go to, because the infrastructure isn't in place yet. Again, in another 5-10 years time, the infrastructure will probably be there, and there may be another road. People walking their cows from one place to the other at the side of the road. It's kind of, like I say, it's a developing country, and but I think there's a lot of pride in how it's developing. There's a lot of positivity as well. I think people can sense that. Over on the right hand side, we're just past a fruit and veg stall, and again we've got another horse and cart there, and no doubt there'll be a Mercedes past me in a minute. So it's a combination of all these things. I think there is a big divide between people that have got money and people that haven't got money, but isn't there everywhere? As I'm cycling along here, and you're going to see this in a few more clips, if you keep looking on the road just before the barriers, you'll see that there are some drain ditches. There's one there, and all the metal grates are not in place. Now the story is that all these drainage systems had metal gratings in place, but they were all stolen for scrap metal. I'm not sure if this is true or not. They're certainly not there now. Coming into Durrës then, I found a cycle path. Isn't that amazing? Well, kind of amazing. Give them credit, because there's a hole where there's a drainage ditch, and in the end I just gave up. But 10 out of 10 for effort, but maybe 3 out of 10 for practicality of cycling along this cycle path.
The end of another day's cycle ride. I covered the 80 kilometres to Durrës pretty quickly. I think it was about 4 hours, averaged about 20 kilometres an hour to do the 80 kilometres. I'm good at maths, aren't I? And I've ended up in a cheapy hotel, which is €17.50 a night, and that includes the breakfast. Now, there's a reason why I'm staying in hotels more than camping. Normally, I prefer camping, I prefer wild camping. But on this trip, I have some quite tight deadlines to me, and one of those deadlines is to get to Dubrovnik for the 26th of May. If I don't do that, I'm in very big trouble, by the way. So to do that, I need to put in some miles, and in effect, it means that I can't really choose where to camp. I've got to hit certain targets. So big cities are one of them. So Durrës doesn't have a campground, or not one that I could find. So I've ended up in a cheapy hotel. But for €17.50, including breakfast, what the hey, So that's why I'm here. I probably should also say that I'm doing Albania a bit of a disservice by zipping through it so quickly. I'm fully aware that I'm skipping large parts of it, that I'm missing out some of the best bits, which is to get out up in the hills and the mountains and go through the small villages and see the archaeological sites that few people have ever heard of. And I have got a list of them. And I think Albania is probably going to be the next country on a bicycle tour for next year. And I'll probably try and do 6 weeks here, or 2 months even, if I can. So in effect, I've got to really whiz through here, whiz through Montenegro, and get to Dubrovnik for what is now 4 days' time, I think it is. So there we go. Today, when I got into the hotel, I went to the supermarket over the road and stocked up with loads of treats. I'm going to turn the camera so that you can see what they are. So I don't normally drink Fanta, I don't normally drink Coke or anything like that, but I've decided to treat myself.
You will notice an absence of beer on a lot of bicycle tours, my own included. There is beer and wine. Now, I gave up drinking, I think it was October. So I think, what's that, 7 months, 8 months now without a drink? And I feel pretty good for it, actually. But maybe I should do a vlog post just about the effects of giving up drink, which have been all beneficial. Found some peanut butter, so that's going to top up. And a lot of this stuff is just topping up stuff that I've used on the road. So over there you can see there's an Nescafe because my coffee's getting low. I managed to leave my toothpaste somewhere, so I need to get some new toothpaste. And obviously the bread I'm not going to eat all in one go now, so half of that will be dinner tonight and half of it will be lunch on the road tomorrow. Let me turn you back around so you can see my ugly face again. Hello. So tomorrow's run is going to be quite a long one, and this is one of the bigger challenges of this cycle tour. I'm going to get to a town called Skoda, I think it's pronounced, and that's over 110 kilometers, maybe 120 kilometers away. I have very little idea of what the terrain's like. If it's all flat, awesome. If it's not, it could be a very long day's cycle. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time planning that route out to see what's ahead. And that's pretty much it, really. So I'm going to stop talking because I'm sure you're bored of it by now. And I will talk to you tomorrow instead. See you later. Bye.